Welcome to this video, dear learners. In our topic for today, we'll continue with digestion. In our previous video, we looked at digestion in the mouth, and we discussed how food is digested in the mouth. Okay, so we'll pick it up from swallowing, and then we'll look at digestion in the stomach and also digestion in the duodenum. So if you're new to this video, please watch the previous videos on nutrition in the biology playlist. Also click the subscribe button, like, comment, and share this video. So digestion, we said it is simply the breakdown of food molecules into simple soluble ones that the body is able to absorb. Okay, and in our previous video, we also discussed on holozoic nutrition, where we said it has these 5 processes: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and egestion. So we are on process number 2, which is digestion. And digestion is the longest process in these other 5 processes. Okay, so let's start with swallowing. So once the food has been physically digested and chemically digested in the mouth, the tongue rolls the food into a bolus, okay, that we discussed. Now we look at swallowing. So swallowing is simply the passage of food, not just food, even liquids. We usually take water, we take drinks, okay, or beverages of all types. So the passage of foods or liquids from the mouth to the stomach, okay, and the food goes through a long tube that we call the esophagus. Okay, the food goes through a long tube that we call the esophagus. Okay, so the esophagus starts from there on the throat up to the stomach. Okay, that is the esophagus. Okay, so the esophagus is simply a tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. Okay, it connects the mouth to the stomach. Okay, so we call this the esophagus. Okay, so swallowing is simply the movement of food along this tube called the esophagus until the food reaches the stomach. Okay, so now what we need to know is that food is first rolled into a bolus. Okay, what we call a bolus of food, and that the job of this is done by the tongue. Okay, the tongue will roll the food into a bolus. Okay, and then the food will have to move. Okay, so now here at this point where we are swallowing the food, this process is usually controlled. Okay, we have full control of what? Swallowing. We have full control of swallowing. But the process where food begins to move down, okay, this occurs automatically. Okay, we cannot control the movement of food downwards to the stomach. Okay, so this occurs simply because this esophagus is specialized. It has some what we call muscles. Okay, it has some muscles, and these muscles, they contract and relax, and then they move food all the way until the food reaches the stomach. Okay, so the esophagus is a specialized tube that is specialized, okay, in contraction and relaxation, and this is because it has 2 types of muscles. Okay, the circular muscles as well as the longitudinal muscles, and we'll look at that. Okay, so here on this diagram you can see this is the bolus of food as the food is moving, okay, this direction. Okay, this is the bolus of food. So what is happening is that the muscles within this esophagus, some of them are contracting, some of them are relaxing. Okay, so the type of contraction that is happening here is known as the antagonistic. Okay, so these muscles are antagonistic to each other. This simply means that when one contracts, the other one will definitely do what? Will relax. Okay, so the food comes down like this. Okay, the whole process is called the peristalsis. Okay, so the process as the food is coming down is called the peristalsis. Okay, so let's look at what peristalsis is all about. So peristalsis, this is the alternative the alternative contraction and relaxation of circular. Okay, so we have what we call circular as well as longitudinal muscles, and these two muscles, they contract in a wave-like manner in order to move food along the alimentary canal. Okay, so if we were to zoom in on this part, okay, we were to zoom in on this part, okay, we zoom it in, and then we open a cross section like that, so it would appear like this. Okay, so you have the muscles, so these are the muscles. Okay, so what happens is that you have a circular muscle here. Okay, circular muscle because it's in a circle. Okay, so a circular muscle here will relax. Okay, and why does it relax? So that the food can move down. Okay, so once the circular muscle here is relaxed, okay, here it relaxes, meaning the other circular muscle that is here will contract. Okay, the circular muscle that will be here will do what? Will contract. So here contraction will push the food down and the food has to go down. So here the muscles will relax to allow the food to come down. Okay, so apart from that, you also have longitudinal muscles. So we said these muscles, longitudinal and circular, they are antagonistic. Okay, they are antagonistic muscles. Antagonistic muscles. What do we mean by antagonistic muscles? We mean that they act opposite. So you notice here, the circular muscle is relaxing, but the longitudinal muscle is what? Contracting. Okay, the circular is relaxing, the longitudinal muscle is contracting. So we call this as antagonistic action. Okay, same thing that is happening here. The circular muscle is contracting, but the longitudinal muscle is what? Is relaxing. Antagonistic movement. Okay, then the food simply moves down. Okay, so this is what happens. So as this process continues to occur, channeling or moving, pushing this food bolus, okay, this food bolus from eating, it pushes it down until it reaches the stomach. Okay, so the food then reaches the stomach. Okay, so the whole process here, the take-home message is peristalsis, simply the relaxation and contraction of circular and longitudinal muscles antagonistically. This helps to move food downwards along the water, the alimentary canal. Okay, so the food reaches the stomach here, digestion has to take place. Okay, so let's look at this digestion that is happening in the stomach. So digestion in the stomach. Okay, so this is a diagram of the stomach. This is the bolus of food that has been propelled into the stomach through peristalsis. So as the bolus of food reaches here, okay, now the stomach, it's a J, it's in a J-like shape. Okay, looks like a J. Okay, looks like a capital small J, like this. Okay, that's the shape of the stomach. Okay, and then the stomach, it has this wall that is making up the stomach. It is elastic, meaning that it can expand depending on how much food you've eaten. It's able to do what? To expand. Okay, because it is elastic. Okay, it is elastic. So what's the function of the stomach? Okay, apart from digestion, so digestion takes place in the stomach, but the other function of the stomach is simply to temporarily store food. Okay, it is a storage of food. So the stomach stores food. Okay, it can store food for at least 2 to 3 hours. Okay, 2 to 3 hours. But for liquids can stay in the stomach for up to 30 minutes. Okay, this is solid foods. Okay, solid foods. solid food to stay up to 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so that's the function of the stomach, is to store food temporarily. Okay, now as this food is stored here, digestion will continue to take place, okay, which is the breaking down of food into simple soluble molecules. Okay, so now the presence of food here, so there is a sphincter here that we call the cardiac sphincter. So once the food comes, the cardiac sphincter relaxes, allowing the food to come into the stomach. Once the food is in the stomach, okay, the stomach wall is made up of glandular cells, okay, and these glandular cells, they produce a certain fluid, okay, that we call gastric juice. Okay, we call this gastric what? Juice. Okay, so we call this gastric juice. Okay, so that's the main secretion in the stomach. Okay, so this gastric juice is secreted like this. Okay, it is secreted as such. It mixes with the food. Okay? It mixes with the food, and this gastric juice is the main thing that causes food to be digested. Okay, so let's look at this secretion called gastric juice. Okay, so gastric juice is simply a mixture of pepsinogen, renin, hydrochloric acid, and pepsin. Okay, so these are the 4 things that you would find in gastric juice. Okay, in gastric juice. Okay, so look at them one by one. Okay, so pepsinogen, this is an inactive form. Okay, it's inactive. Okay, inactive form, okay, of the enzyme pepsin. Okay, so I said the gastric juice contains hydrochloric acid. Okay, and it's this hydrochloric acid that converts this pepsinogen into pepsin. Okay, so you have here pepsinogen converted to pepsin, which is the active form of the enzyme. Okay, so this is done because of hydrochloric acid, so it helps. Okay, because of this acidity in nature, it activates pepsinogen into pepsin, and this pepsin now is what to work on the proteins. It will convert proteins into peptides. Okay, it will convert proteins into what? Into peptides. Okay, so pepsinogen inactive, but the presence of hydrochloric acid converts this pepsinogen into pepsin, and this pepsin now is what digests or breaks down proteins into peptides. Okay, so here breaks down proteins into peptides. Okay, then you also have renin. So renin also, it's secreted in its inactive form. Okay, so this form is inactive. Then hydrochloric acid activates it into the active form. Okay, and this active form now is what coagulates the carcinogen, which is a milk protein soluble into insoluble, called casein. Okay, and this casein now, once it is insoluble, it can last long for a period of maybe some few hours. It can last long for digestion to work on it. Okay, because if it's soluble like this, meaning it will be absorbed into the system really quickly. Okay, so this carcinogen, it's called protein milk. Okay, so renin helps especially in babies. Okay, since babies only depend on breast milk. Okay, and breast milk contains carcinogen. Now babies simply survive on milk, so it's important that the stomach secretes renin, which should convert this carcinogen into casein, which is insoluble, so that it can stay a bit longer in the stomach, or else babies would be crying for constant hunger all the time. Okay, so it converts it to casein so that the food can stay a bit longer into the stomach. Okay, so again, hydrochloric acid converts the inactive form prorenin into the active form called what? Renin. Okay, so we've talked about hydrochloric acid. So another function is that it provides an acidic pH. So all these enzymes we've talked about, pepsin and renin, these enzymes require an acid pH. Remember when we discussed about enzymes, okay? You can go back to our previous videos on enzymes. We said enzymes are affected by pH, okay? Some enzymes will work at an acidic pH, while some enzymes will work at an alkaline pH, okay? So enzymes in the stomach, they work at an acidic pH, okay? They work at an acidic pH. So an acidic pH is necessary for enzymes, okay? And also we've said it converts or activates prorenin and pepsinogen into renin and pepsin respectively, okay? So the other thing that is secreted that is found in gastric juice is mucus, okay? Now this mucus, it protects the lining of the stomach from acidic, the acidic hydrochloric acid and pepsin, okay? So that's the function of so you find that here in this lining, okay, you have hydrochloric acid. You have hydrochloric acid secreted. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. It's able to erode the lining of the stomach, okay? Together with pepsin, these two are able to cause great damage to the stomach walls, okay? And this condition usually will result in what we call peptic ulcers. Okay, peptic ulcers. So to prevent this from happening, there's a mucus that forms a barrier along the stomach walls, okay? That's what the mucus is, okay? And we've said here, mucus protects the lining of the stomach from acid and pepsin, okay? And that's all the digestion that takes place in the stomach, okay? So in the stomach, we've noticed that proteins are digested into what? Into peptides, okay? So proteins are digested into peptides, okay? So then now the food, after it stays for 2 to 3 hours in the stomach, it then moves along this tube called the duodenum, okay? It moves along the tube called the duodenum, okay? So let's look at digestion inside the duodenum, okay? So digestion in the duodenum, so the food is coming like this. So now remember, in the stomach, okay, the food in the stomach, we said it is acidic, and this is due to hydrochloric acid, okay? So as the food is coming here, the environment changes, okay? In the duodenum, it is alkaline. Okay, in the duodenum, the pH is what? It's simply alkaline, okay? So now you notice the duodenum has got two connections, okay? There are two connections here in the duodenum. There is one that comes from the liver, okay? This is just a simple diagram illustrating, okay? So we have the liver here. The liver here will produce a substance that we call bile, and this bile is stored in this, what we call the gallbladder, okay? So stores it in the gallbladder, okay? So as the food is passing here, the bile mixes with the food, okay? So bile mixes with the food, okay? Again, you have a special organ that we call the pancreas, okay? The pancreas also secretes a juice, okay? What we call pancreatic juice. It also mixes the food here. So we notice that the duodenum, it has got two digestive juices, okay, two digestive juices, okay, one from the liver and one from the pancreas, okay. So duodenum receives digestive juices from the liver and from the pancreas, okay, from the liver and from the pancreas. So the liver secretes bile, like we've said, which is stored in the gallbladder. So this bile contains sodium hydrogen carbonate, okay, very important, because this sodium hydrogen carbonate will provide an alkaline pH, okay. It will provide an alkaline pH for the enzymes, okay, and also it neutralizes. Remember, the food here is acidic, but then it's going in an alkaline what environment, okay. So it is neutralized by sodium hydrogen carbonate, okay. So sodium hydrogen carbonate neutralizes acidic food from the stomach and provides an optimum alkaline what pH for the enzymes, okay. So these are the answers you give when you're asked to explain digestion. Make it simple, straightforward, and clear. You're explaining digestion under an ECZ exam. Just talk about these two secretions, the liver and the pancreas. You're talking about bile and pancreatic juice, and then state what the contents actually do in terms of digestion. Okay, they might have other functions, but in terms of what? In terms of digestion. So sodium hydrogen carbonate, okay, it provides an alkaline pH, okay. Then there are also bile salts that are secreted in the liver. These they emulsify lipids into tiny droplets, okay. They emulsify lipids into tiny droplets, okay. So you might have lipids, they are emulsified into what? Tiny droplets, okay. This is because of the bile salts, okay. They emulsify lipids into tiny droplets, okay. So this is a lipid, okay. So we talked about nutrition, okay, different types of nutrients. We talked of carbohydrates in our previous videos. Carbohydrates, we talked of lipids, okay, we talked of proteins, okay. So watch those previous videos, you have a better understanding of where all this is coming from, okay. So now that's the job of the bile salts, to emulsify lipids into tiny droplets, okay. Then the other thing, now you have the pancreas, okay. The pancreas will secrete a juice, okay, called pancreatic juice, and this pancreatic juice contains two enzymes, okay. It contains trypsin and lipase, okay, trypsin and lipase. So trypsin works on the proteins. It continues the digestion of proteins, okay. Remember, the digestion of proteins started in the stomach by action of pepsin, okay. So trypsin in the duodenum, okay. So trypsin continues the digestion of proteins into peptides, okay. Then lipase, okay, converts, okay, or digests lipids into fatty acids and glycerol, okay. Fatty acids and glycerol, okay. Fatty acids and glycerol, okay. So just to make it simple, this is basically what is happening for digestion in the duodenum, okay. But there are a lot of questions that can come out just from these few things, okay. They could ask you to explain the whole process, okay, of digestion in the duodenum. They would ask you to explain the whole process of digestion in the stomach, or the whole process of digestion in the mouth, okay. They might ask you all these things, or they would ask you, where does it explain the digestion of what? Of proteins, okay. Where do you begin from? Proteins digestion, you are going to start. The proteins are first physically digested in the mouth, okay, broken down into tiny particles by the crushing of the teeth, okay. And then in the stomach is where now chemical digestion takes place. Pepsin converts, okay, the proteins into peptides, okay, and then you take it over to the duodenum, okay. So there are many ways that ECZ to prepare questions on digestion, and you have to know all the parts of the alimentary canal, and we discussed alimentary canal starts from the mouth and it ends at the anus, and here they'd ask you any question on any part of the alimentary canal. So I would urge all of you to study, even as I try as much as possible to simplify all this in one single video. I try by all means to make this as simple as it can be, but you still have to read more and more. Okay, I might not touch everything in one video, and if you have any question, please feel free to leave it on the comment section. I always get back to questions. Those that would like to contact me for online private tuitions, my number is just right there on the YouTube channel. Stay blessed.